Hey folks, welcome to episode 7 of Forever. Today we're going to be focusing on a recap of Oculus Connect 6, which just happened over the past few days, and I've got a lot of information to share from both the expo itself and from outside the expo in the surrounding areas throughout San Jose. Lots of awesome stuff happening with the VR AR community. First up, talking a little bit about some of the highlights from the keynotes that took place. Mark Zuckerberg plus a whole slew of people from Facebook and Oculus took the stage and delivered some really cool information about their look at the future of VR and a smidge, very small amount about their future plans for AR as well. First thing they talked about was the success of the Oculus Store. They've sold now over $100 million worth of applications spent on applications and downloadable content on the Oculus Store. And the Quest, just in the 5 months or so that it's been available, has actually contributed to around 20% of that success just in that short period of time. And it looks like, based on everything that we saw at Oculus Connect 6, the Quest is the device that they're really focusing on right now because of that huge success. One of the items that they showed us was hand tracking. I got to do a demo with hand tracking with Farmers Insurance. So it was a training video for Farmers Insurance to assess water damage as an agent. This footage is actually me playing around with the hand tracking after I finished that demo. I will say it's not perfect. Occlusion happens. If you do like even just like this, it can't tell what hand it is, and rather than it glitching out, your hands simply disappear. I think it'll be great for simple tracking of your hands when you're trying to get through a menu system or something of that nature, and it could be useful in social media applications as well, so something like VR chat, or a simple task where you're just trying to grab items or point at items. It's definitely not replacing all controllers or anything of that nature, at least not anytime soon, and this is initially only going to be available on the Oculus Quest. They have not announced any plans for bringing this to the Rift S in the future, but they said that this will be available in early 2020 for all Quest users. I don't know if you'll be able to switch it on or off for applications that already exist, or if it's just going to be something added to the SDK for developers to incorporate into their own apps, but we'll definitely see, and I'm excited to see where this goes in early 2020. They also announced the Oculus Link cable. The Oculus Link allows you to plug in your Oculus Quest to your PC. As long as your PC is VR ready, it essentially turns your Oculus Quest into a Rift device. So using a specialized active USB-C cable from Oculus that I believe is either shipping in November or January. This particular USB-C to USB-C cable can be used. They also mentioned that you can use other companies' USB-C to C or USB-C to A cable as long as it allows for that video throughput. The Oculus branded Link cable, we've been told, will be launching at a retail cost of $79. And I will have to say, I didn't get the chance to try the Oculus Link, but I heard mixed reviews. Some people said it was just like using a Rift. Some people said that it was slightly better than using a Rift. And some people said that they really could see the visual pixelization and some of the degradation in the picture quality. So it's hard to say if it's for everyone. I will say, though, I love the comfort of my Rift S a lot. So it will not be replacing my Rift S for me. I also kind of like using my Quest as a wireless device. So adding a tether to it isn't something I really plan to do in the future. Oculus can certainly change my mind. I haven't had the opportunity to try this Link cable when it comes out later this year or early next year. I'll give it a shot, see what happens. In November, whether the cable has shipped or not, they have promised that they're going to give people access to the Link capability so people will be able to officially play Oculus and other VR titles on PC. This will work with Oculus Home, Steam VR, Viveport, whatever you can use your Rift for today. Facebook also announced Horizon, which is their new social hub that they're adding to the Rift and the Quest. There was no mention of the Oculus Go in this particular presentation, and I suspect it's probably not coming to Go. But Facebook Horizon is something that if you log into Facebook, and they did stress this several times, you have to be logged into Facebook to use it, similar to Oculus Venues and Facebook Spaces in the past. But what they're envisioning is a creative community to build out little worlds, similar to what you see in VR chat, similar to what you see in AltSpace or Anyland or High Fidelity or Project Sansar, or I can just go down a list of probably 30 other titles that do this today, but this is the one that is going to link everything together, Facebook is describing it as. They did announce one flying airplane social title that you can expect around launch. This is something, again, that's going to be launching in beta. Everyone that was at Oculus Connect 6 has been invited into the beta, or will be invited into the beta at launch. And you can sign up for the Facebook Horizon beta at oculus.com/Facebook Horizon today if it's something that interests you. Another thing they announced was Go titles for the Quest. So again, it seems like they're shifting from the Go to the Quest. And I suspect that a lot of users actually moved on from the Go to the Quest because of the 6DoF tracking. It's hard to say really what the plan is, because they didn't say we're going to stop supporting the Go or there won't be any more titles for the Go. But these 60-ish titles have been confirmed to launch on the Go as early as next week, and there will be more coming on a regular basis. So they did say Go and Gear VR titles, so I'm not sure if those Gear VR titles that were stragglers that never came to the Go will come to the Quest, like, I don't know, Minecraft. But at least for right now, we know the titles that are pictured above me right now are coming to the Oculus Quest in the near future. And I've heard confirmation of some other titles that are coming for sure as well. So if you don't see your favorite game in that list above me, don't stress out. It could still be coming as well. Incidentally, one of the titles on this list is Death Horizon. Death Horizon actually has a new full-fledged Quest version that just came out this week that's pretty darn cool. So if you don't own it on the Go, and even if you do, because it's going to be much better if you play the new version, check it out on the Quest if you have a chance. The other thing they announced for the Quest was Pass-Through Plus, similar to the mode that's available for Rift S, and they're going to be adding Pass-Through Plus on demand, so that you can actually trigger a sequence or something to bring out Pass-Through Plus at any time, which is something that I would definitely like to see. One of the other things they mentioned was working on a way to make it so that it's easier to pass and play with a headset, because today, if you take the headset off for a matter of seconds and hand it to someone else, it's going to bring up that Guardian again to confirm your Guardian, and it becomes very confusing when you're trying to do a demo for someone in a unfamiliar VR environment. So I believe they said Pass-Through Plus is coming either later this year or early next year, but they didn't really give a definitive date on when Pass-Through Plus with the on-demand mode would be coming. Sadly, with all of these advancements, we've also got some losses. Let's take a moment to remember, in the VR world, the Gear VR, which was actually outside of the Google Cardboard, which is also really no longer being supported, the first VR device that I owned. I purchased a used Gear VR Innovator Edition, and that's what really started me on this VR journey. And that device is no longer going to be supported on future Samsung phones, and unfortunately probably is now discontinued. Like, there's not going to be more Gear VR releases. Obviously, Go titles in some cases have been compatible with Gear VR, but who's to say how long that support will last? So we're going to say goodbye to the Gear VR. Various iterations were around between December 2014 and this month. It lived a good life through multiple phones, which, you know, it was really nice for what it was, and I had a lot of fun with mine. Obviously, with devices like the Quest, with PC VR having grown and matured, it's a lot more complicated to plug your phone into a headset device and have to set it up with different pieces of software when you can just drop in to a device like the Go or the Quest or the Vive Focus Plus or a Pico Neo or something like that that's all in one. But I will definitely miss the Gear VR. I had two different iterations, one with the Note 4 and one with the S7, and loved them both and used them a ton. I will say though, since I got my Oculus Go, I only really picked up my Gear VR again a couple of times to play multiplayer titles, and I haven't done that for a long time either, so it's probably the right decision to discontinue it at this time. The slightly sadder for me death in the family is Oculus Rooms. I purchased an Oculus Go on launch for my family in Ohio. I live in California, and I purchased the Oculus Go because of Oculus Rooms and the capabilities of Oculus Rooms. It's a simple drop-in social application where we could share time, we could watch videos together, we could share stories, and we could play board games and other games on the game table like the characters on the screen right now are doing. It was really the easiest application that my kind of technophobic family could use, and I'm really sad to see it go. I had a lot of good times. We celebrated with special occasions in Oculus Rooms. We did a lot of things that, you know, I would have done by flying to Ohio. I could do, and I could connect with my family from California remotely and have very similar connected experiences. So I will absolutely miss Oculus Rooms, probably a little bit more than the Gear VR, because that device was easily replaced. I'm hoping something as accessible and easy to use comes to the Oculus Go, in addition to what's happening for the Quest and the Rift S in the future. But again, really sad to see both this device and this application go, but definitely going to be mourning Oculus Rooms for quite a while. Outside of Oculus Connect, I got to try out the Nreal glasses, and in this picture I was also using the Finch Shift controllers, and I was actually pleasantly surprised with how well the Finch Shift controllers tracked. They are 6-off controllers, but they have a slightly different tracking mechanism. There's no external sensors except for these armbands on your right and left arm, and they worked surprisingly well. A lot better, I will say, than the the Vive Focus Plus controllers did when I did a test with them back at GDC. The glasses, the Nreal glasses, Nreal Light, I believe is the brand that it's called, also were a pretty good AR headset. It's surprising to me that just in that glasses form factor they work very well. I will say that the top portion where the cameras and sensors are, it does make it so that like the top of your eyes are cut off, so you have to look down just slightly to see the image. But I found that the colors were more vivid and distinct and true to life than I did with the Magic Leap, and I felt like the field of view was just as good as the Magic Leap in a much more comfortable, much easier to use package. One of the other cool things is, like the Magic Leap, they have a little package of nose clips. So in my case, I didn't need a nose clip, but my wife actually, her face features are a little bit different. They popped in the nose clip, and she had just as good and positive an experience as I did. They also will be shipping with a tray of different types of prescription lens adjusters. I didn't actually need one, even though I do wear glasses. Neither did my wife. We both had a good time just with the straight stock lenses, which is awesome. The two experiences I got to try was something called, I believe, Doodle Lens, which was very similar to Tilt Brush. And also we were able to walk through a Tilt Brush gallery in an art gallery. This was hosted by Nreal and FXG VR at Anno Domini, which is a local art gallery nearby to the convention center in San Jose. I also got to listen in on a couple of panel discussions at the Anno Domini exhibition, and I have to say, it was a ton of fun to see such dedicated and passionate artists, as well as other VR and AR community members at this event. So I'm super happy that this event occurred. It was called Dimension X, and I'm very fortunate to have been able to attend it. It was a lot of fun. I also snuck off to a location nearby the convention center and got to play a couple of games by Arvore. Now, the first game I played was Pixel Rip 1995. That game was featured in my previous video on my channel, so if you want to check out an interview with Anna and a very brief amount of gameplay from the game, look back in my channel, you'll see history of that particular video. I also got to play, if you look in the bottom right hand corner, a game called Yuki, which was, it started out as a game jam and only took a few weeks to make, and they're working to polish it up and actually release it at this point. That game is kind of a bullet hell game, and I'll say, you know, it starts out similar to Zortex from the lab, but you actually have situations where you physically need to move your whole body, not just move your arms around the way, and it felt great. It was a ton of fun to play, and I beat Virtual Reality Oasis's score, so I feel like I'm definitely a winner. Shout out to Mike. I'll see you tomorrow, actually. Ton of fun with these games, both of which will be shipping in early 2020. I know that Pixel Ripped has been confirmed for PC VR and for Oculus Quest, and hopefully also at launch for PlayStation VR. It was focused on Quest first, so there's not going to be any downtime. Like, all of those will come out probably either at the same time or in fairly rapid succession, depending on approval processes. And Yuki is also coming to at least PC VR in early 2020 as well. One of the other awesome games I got to experience while wandering outside of the expo hall at Oculus Connect 6 was a game by Cloudhead Games, the people that made The Gallery, and it was called Pistol Whip. Now, Pistol Whip is a rhythm action game where, as you can see, you shoot kind of shadowy, almost super hot like characters, but it also has an amazing soundtrack. And what I loved about it is, let's say they're shooting at you, that adds to the soundtrack. If you shoot at them, that also adds to the soundtrack. If they fall, that adds to the soundtrack. So you get different beats added to the beats of the score as you're playing. And it was super awesome. Like, again, just like he's bobbing and weaving and ducking and moving around, you have to avoid the bullets that are coming at you from all directions, up, down, left, right, from behind you. It was a ton of fun. I played a level called Death a couple of times, had a ton of fun, but I wanted to make sure other people got to experience the game because it's coming in November. I'll be playing it on the channel probably multiple times because it was that much fun, and sharing different songs and things of that nature. It's going to be on both Quest and PC VR at that time. It's coming later to the PlayStation VR. Next thing I want to talk about is the Oculus Community. Just like last year, Oculus Connect was kind of like a family reunion. I invested in Oculus Connect not really for what Facebook and Oculus had to offer, but for the great community that comes to these events. This community means the world to me. And one of the things that's extremely special to me is the fact that I can go there and spend 48 hours just straight talking. By the end of the first night, none of us had voice left because we were all talking, we were all hugging, we were all having conversations and connecting with each other. Like I said last year when I made a recap video, this event is called Connect, but it's really about those connections. I met so many developers, so many enthusiasts, so many other content creators, video artists, digital artists, esports players, talk show hosts, you name it, they're all there. And they all share that same passion and same love for virtual reality that I do. So even though a lot of us are introverted and would rather be at home hiding in front of a PC or in a headset, when we come to these events, we can break out of our shell a bit because everyone else might be in that similar boat as well. So it's definitely become almost like a pilgrimage, even though it's not that far from me. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, but seeing so many enthusiasts and smiling faces and friends it means the world to me. So this was a group photo. We took several of them, but this is the only one I could find at the time I was recording this video that was actually publicly available yet. And as you can see, there's just a ton of us, and I interacted with probably a good chunk of the people in this photo and had a wonderful time. The other thing I did was I hosted a creators breakfast for streamers and video producers for YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Gaming, Mixer, you name it. And one of the things I love is the fact that, you know, I get to see old friends like ZimTalk5 and Voodoo D and VR Oasis and Rowdy Guy, Cass and Sherry, Alexander, Tyree Wood. Virtually Chris I met for the first time, but I've been connecting with him for a couple of years. Alex VR I met the day before, and Anthony from VR 365 I met for the first time, even though he doesn't live that far away and he's been at a couple of these other events. So these are just a few of the people I met. Unfortunately, not pictured are people like Brad Lynch, who I reconnected with for the first time in a couple of years. Ninjo, who has an excellent channel. Thrill Seeker, who I met through a random Twitter exchange, but really got to spend a lot of time with through Oculus Connect, and we'll be talking on a regular basis and collaborating in the future. And several others as well, but you know, what I love about this event is we feed off of each other, and it really helps us to thrive and be united as a community because we all have that same focus, that same interest, even though every one of our channels has a different spin to it. So I named a bunch of people. I also ran into someone named Sean, who runs a channel called Virtually Playable that's a podcast series similar to something like this, or to F Reality, or to VR Spies, or VR Roundtable, or VR 365, or MRTV. You know, there's so many of them out there, but his series is actually dedicated to VR development. And I know he was running around trying to interview a bunch of VR developers, as was Alex VR, who's pictured in the bottom row of this photo. So definitely look out for their videos. I actually linked to them on my Twitter. I'm going to just put my Twitter link actually in the description of this video because I have a lot of other stuff in the feed there. But I invested my time and my money, and really my primary motivation for going to Oculus Connect this year wasn't to put on a VR headset. It was to see these people. And while I interact with them on a daily basis, seeing them in person for even just a few minutes just brings joy. It's like that family reunion that I've been talking about over and over again. And it only happens at these types of events at this point, but hopefully we'll get to see more of each other, maybe even outside of these events in the future. I had a really good time at Oculus Connect 6. There were some highs and some lows. As you saw, I was pretty upset about the things that were discontinued. And I'm not incredibly excited about some of the things and some of the directions that were hinted at for the future. But I will say that VR is here today, and VR is here to stay. VR isn't dead. It's forever.